Okay, even the top Senate Republican, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, is refusing to say that Donald Trump, his party's presumptive nominee, is qualified to be president. He was interviewed over the weekend by George Stephanopoulos on ABC's This Week. He was asked, Trump gave this disastrous press conference in Scotland. His poll numbers are falling off of a cliff. And McConnell refused to even say that his party's nominee, presumptive nominee, is qualified to be president. Here's a little video and audio for you. It's pretty pathetic.
Just heard those new poll numbers. 64% of Americans say they don't think that Donald Trump is qualified to be president. Do you believe he's qualified? And how do you convince all those voters who think he isn't?
Right.
Well, look, I think there's no question that he's made a number of mistakes over the last few weeks. I think they're beginning to right the ship. It's a long time until November, and the burden obviously will be on him to convince people that he can handle this job. And I think a good step in the right direction was the changes he made in the campaign. He's beginning to use a prepared script more often, which I think is absolutely appropriate for any candidate, whether you're a longtime politician like Hillary Clinton or whether you're new to the game like Donald Trump.
I didn't hear you say whether you thought he was qualified.
Look, that'll be up to the American people to decide. You know, he won the Republican nomination fair and square. He got more votes than anybody else against a whole lot of well-qualified candidates. And so our primary voters have made their decision as to who they want to be the nominee.
So is your party's candidate qualified? He has made mistakes. He's righting the ship. There's a long time left until the election actually happens. It's his responsibility to convince people that he can handle being president. Using a teleprompter is a good idea. The American people are going to have to decide. He didn't cheat his way to the nomination. Where was there even a hint there that Mitch McConnell thinks Trump is even slightly qualified for this position? I mean, not even alluding to that.
Well, the best part is that he called everyone Trump ran against as well qualified. He referred to them as well qualified. And yet he cannot say that Trump is.
That's the amazing thing. I mean, Rachel, who were those qualified candidates that Trump ran against? Is it certainly not Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, and Marco Rubio, or Carly Fiorina, or Mike Huckabee, or Rick Santorum, or Rick Perry? I guess in some sense, based on resume, Bush, Kasich, and Chris Christie were somewhat better. But how can he say every single person he ran against was qualified? But he still can't say Trump is qualified.
He can't, but he kind of dug himself into a bigger hole because he also admitted that he needs to be able to compete financially because he had about 1.3 million in cash on hand at the end of his last reporting period. So he kind of also further agreed, well, he has to catch up and catch up fast. So
yeah. So on top of it, in this ringing endorsement of his party's nominee, saying he also has no money with which to even run a campaign. A better question, I think, is whether Mitch McConnell is qualified to figure out who is qualified to be president. The answer is pretty clearly no when he says not that Trump is qualified, but that all of the people he ran against were qualified. Big picture, just real problems within the Republican Party. And this is only the tip of the iceberg